Hey folks, how's it going? Dr. Eric Hughes here. In today's video, we're going to be continuing with our talk about fascia and how we can mobilize through different planes of movement. The plane of movement we're going to be dissecting today is going to be the frontal line, where we move laterally. In terms of fascial manipulation, this is going to be medial motion and lateral motion. I think anatomy trains also calls it your lateral line, so pretty similar across all fields. This plane of movement is one of my most favorite because A, it is prevalent in just about any sport if you're using your lower body ever, and B, it is the most neglected plane of movement if we're ever training. Starting with that first point, yeah, if you ever use your legs, think about you're just running down a field and you've got defenders after you. If you're playing football or soccer or whatever, you have to cutting laterally, that extra, that quick twitch movement. When we take into account training once more, a lot of the training occurs in the sagittal plane, and I mentioned that in the last video, where we're doing push-ups, sit-ups, even clean and jerks, even snatches, deadlifts. It's all in the sagittal plane, forward and backwards. We never, ever, barely train in this side-to-side movement, right? But that's kind of the hallmark. I would say that's one of the hallmarks for physical therapists, especially when they say, hey, you have weak glutes. Has your physical therapist ever told you that? I bet. If you have low back pain, hip pain, they're like, oh, we have to strengthen your glutes. Let's do 20 million clamshells. Let's do isometric movements, whatever. They're partially right, but in my opinion, they're kind of missing the picture just a smidge. Personally, for me, I want to know how that lateral line is moving from your head all the way down to your toes, right? Because it might not just be the glutes, it might be somewhere else down that line. So I'm going to show you guys some examples of revolution and motion exercises that you can use to help mobilize that lateral line. Hopefully this will give you a great idea on how to start incorporating this in your at-home mobility or your training for your sport. Let's get to it. So you're going to see two general themes with these movements. One, obviously, is mobilizing through that lateral and medial fascial lines, but also you're going to see an increasing complexity or an increasing demand of your body having to perform as one unit through those lateral lines as well. So here, pretty basic. This is called spider. You're going side to side. I'm focusing on cushioning through the hips and the shoulders as I go side to side, lengthening my spine forward and back as well. From here, we can perform a move called snake. So again, the movement is relatively small. I'm just moving throughout my shoulder blades, which then translates down my spine into my hips and my lower body, again, that side to side. This alone is actually, side note, this is pretty difficult for a lot of people, having that scapular control side to side. And then here's an example of the lower body, so skater. The goal here, toes pointed forward, knees tracking over your toes, also so long as you can keep your trunk over your body, maintaining the other, what we call revolution and motion essentials. And this move is actually pretty difficult for a majority of people who have those quote-unquote weak glutes or tight hips. Maybe the knee can't track all the way out of the toes. Maybe the toes are splayed out and they can't be pointed forward. This one's called side toss, and this is honestly, in my opinion, that hallmark of mobilizing through the lateral line. So you can see that huge line of tension as I'm reaching out overhead, all the way down to reaching throughout my toes. So you're getting, the serratus anterior, you're getting all about the shoulder, you're getting into the QL, you're getting into the transverse abdominis, if you want to go into specific muscles. But again, it's through that lateral fascial line. And now that we have mobilized the upper body and lower body a little bit, we can start integrating more balance and coordination and whole body movement. So this is called side lunge. And again, the focus here is reaching my hip out, reaching my leg out, opening, creating space through my hip. But then we also have that balance component with the right leg, and making sure you're maintaining that, knees tracking over your toes. Again, maintaining, also hollowing your abs, lifting your chest, all those other RevInMo essentials. The next step here would be balancing on the Bosu ball, number one, but then also moving medial and laterally. So putting weight on the outside of your foot and then on the inside of your foot. This alone is so great for ankle rehab, for sprains, right? Inversion, eversion sprains especially. right? Encouraging that range of motion, but also really working hard neurologically with that stimulus. Going back to the upper body, this is called Superman. This is what you would consider a variation of snake, a more advanced version, but you can see that balance and coordination aspect. I probably make it look a little bit easier than it is, but I have no point of contact on the floor that is stable, right? I have my core and my upper body or my lower body on the ball, and then my hands are on the Bosu ball, and that's waving side to side. That alone is pretty tough. And this lateral jump and stick is pretty common, maybe for the majority of you. I usually wouldn't put this until the end, way at the end of a series, when we want to have that complete integration with the whole body after we've mobilized that lateral line, so you can perform this movement effectively and efficiently.